The Zorthon Empire had ruled the stars for over 600 years. Their ships were strong, their weapons were feared, and their commanders were proud. On this day, a massive Zorthon fleet entered human space. Over 200 warships, black and sharp like knives, came out of warp near planet Delta 4. They expected no resistance, just another easy victory. Another weak species to crush. Commander Velok, the leader of the Zorthon fleet, stood on the bridge of the flagship Ulkar. Red eyes scanned the empty space in front of him. Nothing on the scanners, no ships, no defense systems, said his second-in-command. Velok laughed, a cold, sharp laugh. "These humans are even weaker than we thought," he said. "They didn't even show up to die." The officers on the bridge laughed with him loudly, mocking that they had crushed 10 planets in the last year. Human space was supposed to be different, but so far they had seen no resistance, only silence. "Begin the scan," Velok ordered. "Find their bases, we'll burn them all." The ships moved forward, slowly spreading across the system like a black cloud. They scanned for life, weapons, or human fleets, but found nothing too easy. Suddenly, a small alert beeped on the control. "Panel, Commander," said the sensor officer. "There's something coming out of warp. One object, small." Velok raised an eyebrow. "Only one." "Yes, sir, one ship, coming from the edge of the system." "Put it on screen." The crew stared at the screen. A single dot appeared. Small, slow, no ID, no signal, no known class. It didn't match any known human design. The room went silent for a moment, then Velok grinned. "They're sending one ship? One?" He started laughing again. "Is this a joke? They must be desperate," another officer added. "A freighter maybe, or an old mining ship." "Let it come," Velok said. "We'll destroy it for fun." But the ship didn't stop. It came closer, slowly, calmly, strange. Minutes passed. The dot grew bigger on the screen. Still, no signal, no name, no communication, sir. The sensor officer said again. "There's something odd." "What now?" "Our scanners can't read the ship. No engine type, no weapon signature. Every ship gives off heat. This one doesn't. It's cold, silent." "Maybe it's a stealth ship," someone suggested. "Humans don't have stealth tech like this," Velok said. "They can barely fly." The unknown ship finally exited warp. It appeared in front of the Zorthon fleet. It was massive, larger than expected. Its design was sharp, dark, smooth. It had no windows, no markings, no lights, just silence. The fleet watched in confusion. "It's not doing anything," Velok said. "Send a warning. Fire a few shots across its bow." A few Zorthon cruisers launched low-powered plasma blasts. They flew past the unknown ship hand, vanished. The blasts didn't explode. They didn't even touch the ship. They just disappeared. "Where did the shots go?" Velok asked. "Unknown, Commander. Our systems didn't register any impact." Then, for the first time, the ship responded. A voice echoed across all Zorthon systems. It was calm. "Female, clear, leave." Now, just 2 words. "Who dares speak to the Zorthon Empire like that?" Velok roared. He slammed his fist on the console. "Destroy that ship now." More cruisers prepared their weapons. Fighters launched from carriers. The fleet aimed every cannon at the unknown ship, but none of them fired, because at that moment, every Zorthon ship powered down. Lights went off, engines stopped. Screens turned black. The entire fleet floated in silence. Panic filled the air. "What's happening? We've lost all control. Weapons are offline." Even Ulkar was dead in space. Only one screen remained active, though. One showing the unknown ship. It hadn't moved, not once, still watching, still silent. Then the voice came again. "This is your final warning." Velok's hands shook. His face lost its color. This wasn't a joke anymore. "What kind of ship is that?" someone whispered. A young officer, barely trained, spoke softly. "Sir, I don't think it's just a ship. I think it's something else." Velok turned to the comms officer. "Send a message to the fleet. Prepare for boom." A sudden flash lit up the screen. The flagship next to them, Droxen, was gone. Just gone. No explosion. No debris. Nothing. One moment it was there, the next, empty space. "Who fired? Who gave the order?" Velok shouted. "No one fired," said the weapons officer. pale and shaking. It wasn't us. It was them. Someone whispered. The humans. The fear was real now. All over the fleet, silence took over. No one laughed anymore, not even Velok. He stared at the dark ship in front of them, now lit only by starlight. The Zorthons came to crush the humans. They laughed at Earth. They saw one ship hand, the laughter died. And deep inside his mind, Velok finally understood this was not going to be easy. This was going to be war, a different kind of war, and it had just begun. The Zorthon fleet drifted in space. No sound, no movement, no lights dot. Every ship was frozen systems. Dead, crews silent. Only one thing remained on the screens of every Zorthon vessel. The human ship, Commander Velok, stood still on the dark bridge of Alkar. Emergency lights flickered weakly. His officers whispered in fear. Why haven't we been destroyed yet? One of them asked. Velok didn't answer. He was watching the ship, still cold, still unmoving, still watching. Can we contact it? Another officer asked. The comms officer tried, but the systems made no sound. Everything was blocked. Then came a message. No voice, just words, displayed on every screen in the fleet. You are not ready, Velok read it aloud. His voice cracked slightly. What does that mean? Someone asked. No one answered. In the far left corner of the bridge, the sensor officer gasped. Commander, I think I found something about that ship. Velok turned quickly. Speak. I checked all Zorthon records, every database, every known human ship type, civilian, military, even black market. Nothing matches this one. What's your point? Velok snapped. I think this ship doesn't exist. That made the bridge go quiet again. Velok narrowed his eyes. Everything exists somewhere. It must have a name. The officer shook his head. It has no ID, no serial code, no signal, not even heat. It's like a ghost. Someone whispered. Across the fleet, systems flickered back to life just for a moment. Then a new message appeared. Leave or face consequences. This time, Velok had enough. Bring systems online. Prepare all ships to fire. Officers scrambled. Lights blinked. Engines restarted. Weapons powered up. Fear still lingered, but orders were orders. Then another change. The human ship moved. Just a little. It turned slowly, without noise, without light, facing directly toward Ulkar Velok's flagship. Its shape was clearer now, smooth, black metal like glass. No windows, no engines, nothing on it looked like a weapon. Yet it had destroyed a cruiser with no effort. Is it preparing to fire? One officer asked. Still no energy spikes, said another. Still no heat, no visible weapons. Velok clenched his fists. How is it doing this? Back at the fleet's edge, one small Zorthon scout ship tried to run. Its captain panicked. He activated warp drive, hoping to escape the system. He never made it. The moment he entered warp, the ship vanished, completely erased. No explosion, no trace, just gone. And then another message appeared. Running will not save you. Panic spread through the fleet like fire. Even experienced captains began shouting over comms, we must retreat. This is not a normal battle. Who are we fighting? Velok shouted over the chaos. Hold your ground. Fire now. Finally, the fleet launched a full strike. Dozens of plasma bolts and torpedoes flew toward the human ship. But just before they hit, they stopped. In mid-space, all weapons froze, hanging like stars in the dark. Then they turned slowly back toward the Zorthon ships. One officer whispered, "Oh no," but they didn't fire. Instead, the weapons melted into sparks and faded into dust. Gone, no impact, no damage, just erased. This isn't possible, said Velok. No technology can do that. The crew stared at him. No one spoke then. Without warning, the human ship moved again. It flew fast through the center of the fleet. None of the Zorthon ships could track it. It was faster than light, but it didn't use warp. It simply moved. And when it stopped, it was right behind Alkar. Every alarm on the ship lit up red. Weapons locked, an officer screamed. Shields are down. Evade, evade. But Alkar couldn't move. Engines failed again. They were helpless. The human ship sent one final message. This is only the beginning. And then it disappeared. No warp signature, no trail, just gone. Silence returned. The fleet was still alive but broken. Morale shattered. Fear everywhere. Commander Velok fell into his chair. His pride, his confidence was gone. "This can't be real," he whispered, but deep inside, he knew the truth. They had just met something far beyond their understanding, and it had let them live. For now, the Zorthon fleet was silent. No one spoke, no one moved. The strange human ship had vanished, and yet looked pale and stiff. His officers stood around him, unsure what to say. One finally asked, "Should we retreat, Commander?" "No. Humans used some strange device. That's all." "But, sir," the officer replied, "they destroyed a battleship without firing, and they stopped our weapons mid-air." "That's not a trick." Velok slammed his fist on the armrest. In the center of the fleet, the crew of Zorik 9 was repairing systems. Suddenly, their communication screens blinked. A single warning message appeared again. "Leave now." Captain Draven of Zorik 9 shouted to his bridge, "Block the signal. It's just human games." But as soon as he said it, all lights on the ship went dark. Weapons, shields, engines, all dead. Across the fleet, a low panic began to spread. Even brave captains now spoke in hushed tones. One whispered to another, "Why would humans give warnings if they could destroy us all instantly?" Back on the flagship Ulkar, Velok walked toward the large front screen. "Tell me what this ship is. We've searched old Earth logs. There is nothing like this ship. No records, no blueprints. It doesn't exist." Velok stared at him. "That's not an answer. But it may be something new. A secret weapon. A prototype Earth didn't want the galaxy to." "No," another officer said quietly. "Or maybe it's not even human technology at all." Everyone turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" "What if," the officer said slowly, "humans didn't build it? It simply emerged from black space, like a shadow given shape. It floated in front of the entire fleet." Again, watching, waiting. Velok clenched his teeth. "Fire everything we have," he said coldly. "But, Commander, now." Hundreds of Zorthon weapons fired, plasma missiles, kinetic rounds. The sky turned bright with fire and death. Everything hit the human ship and vanished. Not a dent, not a sound, it just floated there, untouched. Velok stared in disbelief. "How?" The ship responded again, sending one new message. "You were warned." Then it attacked. It didn't use beams, or missiles, or any visible weapons. It simply moved. One moment, it was in front of the fleet. The next moment, 5 Zorthon ships were gone. No explosions, no wreckage, just erased. One by one, ships across the fleet started shutting down. Systems melted. Engines froze. Entire ships turned to silent statues. No one could stop it. No one could even see what it was doing. Panic exploded across the Zorthon command lines. "This isn't war. This is a massacre. Retreat. Retreat now." But it was too late. On Ulkar, alarms rang. Fires broke out. Sparks flew from the consoles. Velok watched helplessly as another cruiser vanished from the radar. He had never felt fear like this before. Finally, his voice broke. "All ships, fall back. Get out of human space." "Sir," the comms officer said in disbelief. "Fall back," Velok screamed. "This thing is not something we can fight." The human ship stopped moving. The message came again. "You chose to stay. You ignored the warnings. This is mercy." And with that, it vanished. Gone. The Zorthon fleet limped away. Over half their ships were destroyed or disabled. The strongest empire in the galaxy had been stopped by one silent ship. They didn't even know its name. They didn't even know why it had let them. Live. Back in the Zorthon capital, council members listened in horror as survivors told the story. "They said it was a human ship," one general whispered, "but no human ship should have that power." One counselor said slowly, "Then maybe it wasn't a ship at all." Silence followed. No one had the answer, but they all knew one thing: humanity had changed, and the galaxy would never laugh at Earth again. The Zorthon fleet was broken. More than 50 ships were lost. Dozens more were floating helplessly. No battle had ever gone this way. No enemy had ever done so much with so little. And the worst part, it wasn't even a battle. Commander Velok sat alone in his private chamber aboard Ulkar. His uniform was dirty. His hands trembled. He had faced many enemies in his life, but this was something else. This wasn't just human power. This was something new. His door slid open. His second-in-command entered carefully. "Commander," he said, "we've restored partial systems. Our long-range scanners show still waiting." Velok stood up slowly. "We will not run again," he said. "It gave us a warning. We ignored it. Now we respond." Back in deep space, the strange human ship remained silent, floated alone, dark as the void around it. But inside, she didn't move. Her eyes stared coldly at the enemy fleet. The ship's AI spoke in a soft voice. Zorthon fleet preparing full strike, shields charging, missile bays unlocked. Reyna didn't speak. She simply pressed one button. The screen lit up with red markers, one for each enemy ship. She whispered, "Let them come." The Zorthon fleet moved together for the first time in hours. All ships were realigned, weapons charged. Fighters launched inside the warship. Droxus Captain Kelver gave the command. "Fire everything. Show the humans who we are." Hundreds of beams and missiles shot across space. They targeted the human ship from every angle. The stars lit up, and then the weapons vanished again. Like before, no impact, no scanner could track. It was in the middle of the Zorthon fleet hand. Then it fired. One beam, one shot. Through the battleship Vargan, there was no explosion, no fire, just a flash, and then the ship was gone. In its place, empty space, Velok watched in horror. "Did we hit it?" he asked. "No, sir," the officer replied. "It hit us." More red. Alerts lit up the bridge. More ships. Disappearing, Reyna Voss sat calmly. Her hand hovered over the controls. The AI spoke again. "Targets locked. 47 Zorthon ships." "Proceed," Reyna said. Dozens of invisible energy pulses left the ship, each one aimed with perfect precision. Across the enemy fleet, chaos exploded. Ships broke apart without warning. Engines stopped. Power failed. Pilots screamed. Officers shouted, but there was nothing to shoot at, nothing to escape, Commander. 10 cruisers formed a ring around the flagship dot. The human ship stopped in front of them. Then it sent one final message. "This was your choice." No warning. The Zorthons inside didn't even have time to scream. Only Ulkar remained. Inside, Velok fell to his knees. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. "All my ships," he whispered. "Gone." The AI aboard the human ship spoke. "Again, Commander, final target in range." "Fire." Velok was on at his face, frozen in fear. She stared for a long moment, then said one word. "No." The ship turned slowly and vanished once more. Not a warp, not a signal, just gone. The battlefield was quiet now. Debris floated in space. Fires burned out. The stars seemed colder. Commander Velok sat alone in the dark bridge, his hands still shaking, his eyes wide open, and in his mind, only one sentence repeated again and again: "It let us live." The battle was over, but the fear had just begun. The great Zorthon fleet, once proud and unbeatable, was now a broken shadow of itself. Only a few ships survived. Many were damaged. Some floated with no power, no crew, no hope. Commander Velok remained on the bridge of Ulkar, sitting in silence. The lights flickered. The air smelled like smoke and burnt wires. His crew moved quietly around him. No one dared to speak. They all felt the same thing, not defeat. Fear. A soft voice broke. "The silence, Commander." Incoming message. Velok slowly looked up. "From who?" The officer swallowed hard. "From the Galactic High Command. They demand a report." Velok stood up, straightened his uniform, and walked to the screen. He took a deep breath. The image of Counselor Drax, a high-ranking Zorthon leader, appeared on screen. "What happened, Commander Velok?" he asked coldly. "We lost contact with over half the fleet." Velok's voice cracked slightly. "We were attacked by one ship." Counselor Drax blinked. "One ship?" "Yes," Velok said. "A human ship, but not like anything we've ever seen." Drax leaned forward. "You're telling me one human ship destroyed 50 Zorthon warships?" "Yes." The counselor stared at him in disbelief. Then he laughed. "You're joking. You expect me to believe this story?" Velok's face turned hard. "Then go and see the wreckage yourself." The laughter stopped. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Alien worlds received fragments of the Zorthon. Transmission logs, videos, audio scans. Other empires began whispering, "The humans have something new." They destroyed an entire fleet, and they didn't even fire weapons. No one understood what they were seeing, and that's what scared them most. Meanwhile, on Earth, in a hidden underground base, a dark room was filled with monitors. Captain Raina Voss stood in front of the command screen. The AI beside her spoke softly. "Mission complete. Zorthon fleet neutralized." Message delivered. Raina didn't smile. She stared at the screen showing Velok's broken fleet floating in space. "Sign of backup?" "No, they're afraid." Raina nodded. "Good. Let them be." She turned and walked away. The warship powered down silent again, waiting back on Ulkar. Velok stared out the window. No enemy, no sign of the ship, but he still felt it. He felt like he was being watched. "Sir," said his second-in-command, "should we return to the capital?" Velok shook his head. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because we're not ready." In the days that followed, strange things began to happen across Zorthon space. Small human ships entered outer systems, ran away without firing a shot. Commanders gave orders to avoid contact. Zorthon citizens panicked. News feeds showed images of a dark, unknown human ship that could kill without sound, and always the same question. If one ship can do this, how many more do they have? In the capital, Councillor Drax held a secret meeting. He faced a room full of generals, scientists, and spies. "We need answers," he said. Now one scientist stood up. Her face was pale. "We studied the signals from the human ship," she said. "Its energy source is unknown. It doesn't match any known tech." Another general added, "Even our best AI can't track its movement. It doesn't warp. It just appears, like it's bending space." Drax frowned. "So, what are we dealing with?" No one answered. Then one spy sitting in the corner whispered, "It's not just a ship, it's a message." At that moment, across several systems, more strange readings began to appear, tiny signals, strange distortions. Near outer colonies, panic returned. Some said they were seeing more ships like the first one, but no one knew for sure, because the humans didn't say a word. Watched, the Zorthon Empire began to change. War factories slowed down, fleet movements stopped, and in the dark halls of command, every officer, every soldier, every leader had the same thought. What if they come back? In the heart of the Zorthon Empire, fear had taken root, but no one knew the true reason. Not yet, because something even more dangerous than the human warship had already slipped past their defenses. A single human inside their capital. His name was Agent Cale Thorn No. One knew his real name. He had many faces, many voices. Now, he wore the uniform of a Zorthon data technician. He walked through the towering crystal halls of the Imperial Records Tower with calm steps, head down, quiet, and invisible. Every guard nodded at him. No one saw the truth. Inside the tower, Agent Cale entered a secure room. He plugged in a small, black cube. The lights flickered. The cube began to whisper in soft pulses, unlocking data, stealing secrets, leaving false trails. He looked at the screen and smiled. Location of all Zorthon war factories. Found. Fleet command protocols. Found. Emergency War Council access codes. Found. Population fear level reports. Found. Cale tapped a small earpiece. "This is Shadow One, confirming Phase 2 is complete." A soft voice replied, acknowledged. "Phase 3 begins now." Far away, in a hidden human command center orbiting Saturn, Captain Raina Voss stood in silence. Beside her, Admiral Kane stared at a holomap of the galaxy. Red dots showed Zorthon fleets. Green shadows marked where humans had already inserted stealth drones. "We've already won half the war," Raina said calmly. Kane nodded, "and they still don't even understand what hit them." Back in the Zorthon capital, Agent Cale placed the black cube in the main power grid. He whispered to himself, "Let's see how they react when the lights go out." He turned and walked away. Seconds later, the entire capital city blacked out. Panic filled the streets. No communication, no control, no defense. High above, orbiting silently, The same human warship that had destroyed the Zorthon fleet drifted into view again. It didn't fire, it didn't speak, but its dark shape was now clearly visible above the capital. A message appeared in the sky. No one knew how, just 3 words: "We are watching." Inside the War Council chambers, Counselor Drax screamed. "How did they get inside our system?" No one answered. Every officer looked terrified. One admiral stood and said quietly, "They were never outside. They were already here." That night, across every Zorthon world, fear turned into something worse. Paranoia.Zorthans began arresting each other, suspicious of spies. They shut down travel between. Still, they didn't strike back. They were too afraid, because they didn't know how many ships the humans had. They didn't know how many agents were already inside, and worst of all, they didn't know what the humans wanted. In a dark chamber, Agent Kale sat alone. He looked up at the sky through a window. He smiled. "You laughed at us," he whispered. "But now you're afraid of shadows." Zorthon, High Command. Because something strange was happening across the stars, Zorthon outposts were going dark one by one dot. No explosions, no distress calls, no signs of battle, just silence. It began with Outpost Theto 29. A scout ship flew by and found nothing but empty structures. Every computer wiped, every soldier gone. Even the security recordings were missing. Next was Station Velcor Prime vanished. Within a minute of reporting a shadow moving across the stars, the Zorthons began to whisper a new name. The Whisper Fleet. Ships that made no sound, left no heat, left no bodies, only silenced on the Empire's War Council. Fear grew like wildfire. One general shouted, "This is madness. We must strike Earth now." Counselor Drax shook his head slowly. "Strike? Where? We don't even know where their real fleets are." Another admiral added, "We don't know how they're moving. We don't know how many there are." Every report says the same thing: no radar signature, no engines, and no survivors. Far away in deep space. 3 small black ships floated between stars. Human-made stealth-class warships, each shaped like a ghost flat, smooth, black as night. Inside one of them, Commander Lex Reyes sat in the dark, his eyes fixed on a holographic map. His voice, calm, quiet. Target, Zorthon Weapons Depot. Minimal resistance, deploy. Trained for silence. Their ship slid forward, completely invisible to any Zorthon radar. Inside the depot, Zorthon workers carried energy cores. They laughed, talked loudly, until the lights went out. A strange hum filled the air, and then nothing. A minute later, the depot was empty. In Zorthon media, fear turned into chaos. News anchors asked questions no one could answer. Where is the human fleet hiding? Why are we the ones running now? Is Earth even real, or just the beginning of something worse? The public demanded answers. But the Empire had none, because by now, even their own generals were afraid to speak too loudly back in orbit around Saturn. Admiral Kane stood beside Captain Reyna. They watched a long list of captured Zorthon systems light up. On the screen, green for silent, red for destroyed, Reyna whispered, "They're starting to fall apart." Kane nodded. "Let them." On a distant asteroid base, Agent Kale received a new transmission. Only 2 words: begin Phase 4. He smiled, because now, the humans weren't just fighting a war, they were tearing down an empire without firing a shot. The Zorthon Empire was breaking apart, not because of giant battles, not because of human armies on their worlds, but because of fear. They couldn't see fear of a war they didn't understand, High Commander. Ship movements, and red blinking warnings. "We've lost 14 systems this week," his officer said, voice shaking. "What do you mean lost?" Threx barked. "Gone, sir. Base is empty. Troops vanished. Weapons stolen. No resistance. No alarms." Threx slammed his hand on the table. "How can a species we laughed at do this?" More Zorthon colonies shut themselves down. Civilian ships refused to travel alone. Mining operations stopped. Pirate fleets began to steal from the Empire itself. Pride, their belief in power, fear, and domination was dying. Now, even their allies were stepping away. The Trelax Syndicate broke their trade pact. The Galvax clans closed their wormhole gates. Everyone feared being the next target of the silent human ships in orbit above Jupiter. Admiral Kane stood before the human fleet. Ships of all shapes and sizes now hovered behind stealth fields. Thousands of soldiers prepared quietly. Technicians, armed weapons, pilots ran drills, and all of them knew the time for hiding was almost over. Back on Earth, Agent Kale walked through a secret underground base. He stopped in front of a locked black door. Behind it was the weapon that changed everything. He placed his hand on the scanner. The door opened with a cold hiss. Inside was the true reason. The aliens were afraid. A prototype ship, something not built for war but for psychological domination. No engines, no noise. It moved like a shadow. It could crash into planets and not take damage, built using alien tech stolen years ago. Commander Threx received a final report. Sir, Counselor Drax has left the planet. He's taken a warship and declared independence. Threx stared at the screen. Then he laughed. Of course he did. Even rats know when a ship is sinking. He looked at the stars. We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance. But it was too late now. Earth didn't just fight. Earth hunted in the dark of space. Human stealth ships closed in on Zorthon Prime. The message had already been sent. Your pride blinded you. Now, your fall begins. A deep silence covered the stars near. Zorthon Prime, their homeworld, was protected by a huge armada, hundreds of ships, floating in tight formation. Battlecruisers, ion frigates, dreadnoughts, each one armed to the teeth. Zorthons believed no one could break this wall. They believed they were safe, until the first human signal came through. Incoming object, no ID, no response, no known engine type. Captain Varlin of the Zorthon Shield Fleet looked confused. It's too big for a stealth drone, he said. The tech officer's eyes widened. Sir, it's not using engines. It's drifting. It's headed straight for us. Open comes. Send a warning. They tried. No response. Just silence. And then the object stopped right in front of their fleet. It wasn't just a ship. It was a shadow in space. Black, smooth, no windows, no markings, no heat signatures. It didn't look alive, but somehow it felt alive. Every Zorthon pilot stared at it. Their systems began to fail. Radars, destroy it. Missiles launched, beams fired, plasma cannons roared. But all the attacks passed through the ship like it wasn't there. Like it was just a ghost. The human warship didn't move, didn't fire back, didn't need to. On Earth, Admiral Kane watched from a secure feed. Behind him, an officer asked, "Should we engage?" Kane smiled coldly. "No, let them feel it first." "Feel what, sir?" "Fear." Shut off mid-flight. Power cores melted. Command. Decks went silent. It was like their own ships turned against them. Across Zorthon Prime, alarms rang. The sky burned as ships fell from orbit. Citizens screamed. Officials ran. Even the Emperor's palace. Varlin's final words were recorded. "This isn't war. This is punishment." His ship broke apart silently, and the human warship remained still, watching, waiting. A message echoed through every Zorthon channel. We are not what you think. We are what comes after pride. The stars around Zorthon Prime no longer sparkled. Only ashes remained. The once mighty Zorthon fleet was gone. Destroyed by a single silent human warship, not with noise, not with explosions, but with fear, confusion, and power beyond understanding, high above the burning planet. The human warship hovered. No name, no symbol, just the shape of darkness. Watching it never spoke again. It didn't need to. Its message was clear. Inside Zorthon Command, chaos ruled. The Emperor, once proud and cruel, sat frozen on his throne. His generals argued, his scientists panicked, but none of them had answers. No. One did. One officer finally whispered, "What do we do now?" The Emperor looked at him slowly. His voice was weak. "We surrender." Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. The Zorthon Empire defeated. One human warship has changed the balance of power. No weapons, no warnings, just destruction. In the Galactic Council, silence ruled the chamber. Species from all over the galaxy stared at the message. A patrol ship gasps filled the room. A patrol ship, not even their strongest. If this was just one, how many more did they have? And what else were they hiding? Some council members called for alliance. Others feared invasion. But one thing was sure, no one laughed at humanity anymore. Not after Zorthon Prime. Not after the ghost ship in the dark. Back on Earth, the warship returned home, still silent, still nameless, but now feared across the stars. And in a quiet military base, Admiral Kane gave his final report. Mission complete, Zorthon Empire neutralized, message delivered. Let them remember what happens. When humans are mocked,